They say trust is the foundation of marriage. What they don't tell you is that sometimes that foundation is built on quicksand, and you don't realize you're sinking until you're neck deep in someone else's lies. My name is Mark Sullivan, and 3 hours ago I thought I had the perfect life, perfect wife, perfect house in our perfect little neighborhood, perfect wedding planned for next month. Hell, I even had the perfect toast written, something about how Julia completed me, made me whole, all that romantic garbage that sounds profound after 2 glasses of champagne. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Now I'm sitting in my car outside Romano's Italian restaurant, staring at my phone screen, watching my entire world collapse in real time through a series of text messages that weren't meant for my eyes. Can't wait to feel you inside me again tonight. Mark's working late. Perfect timing. Room 237 at the Marriott, same as always. Jay. You drive me crazy, baby. 2 more weeks and we can stop sneaking around. He'll never see it coming. E. The phone belongs to Julia, my fiancée, my supposedly devoted partner of 3 years. The woman who just 20 minutes ago looked me in the eye across our dinner table and said, "Honey, there's something I need to tell everyone." I should have known from her tone. That fake sweet voice she uses when she's about to drop a bomb. The same voice she used when she told me her boutique needed another $50,000 investment last year. "What is it, sweetheart?" I'd asked, cutting into my veal parmesan like an idiot. She'd glanced around the table at our assembled friends and family, her mother Patricia, my best friend Paul, her business partner Carmen, and the guest of honor himself, Eric Dorsey, her ex-boyfriend, the guy who'd been just a friend for the past 18 months, ever since he moved back to town. "I need everyone to understand something about Eric," Julia had said, reaching across the table to squeeze his hand. Not mine, his. He's always going to be in my life. He's not just my ex, he's my best friend, my confidant, my soulmate in so many ways. If anyone has a problem with that, especially you, Mark, then maybe we shouldn't be getting married. The restaurant had gone silent. Not just our table, the entire place seemed to hold its breath. I could hear the kitchen staff clattering dishes 3 rooms away. Patricia's wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. Paul's fork scraped against his plate like nails on a chalkboard. And Eric? Eric had smiled. That smug, self-satisfied grin that I'd been seeing in my nightmares for months, without understanding why. "Okay," I'd said. Just that. One word. Then I'd stood up, dropped my napkin on my chair, and walked out. No scene, no shouting, no dramatic confrontation, just okay and a quiet exit that apparently spoke louder than any tantrum could have. That was 45 minutes ago. Now I'm scrolling through Julia's phone, the one she left on the table in her rush to follow me out of the restaurant, reading message after message that confirms what my gut has been telling me for months. They've been sleeping together since February, planning to humiliate me at our own wedding, laughing about how clueless I am, how easy it's been to fool boring old Mark while they carry on their affair in plain sight. There's more. So much more. Financial records showing Eric's been living off loans from Julia's boutique, loans funded by my investments in her business, hotel receipts dating back 8 months, photos I don't want to examine too closely, and worst of all, a group chat between Julia, Carmen, and her friend Lana where they discuss the whole situation like it's some kind of soap opera entertainment. "Mark actually thinks you're going to marry him. This is better than reality TV." L. The poor guy has no idea. Sometimes I almost feel bad. Almost. C. Don't feel bad. He's getting what he deserves for being so boring. Eric makes me feel alive again. J. My hands are shaking as I scroll through months of betrayal, but it's not from heartbreak. It's from rage, pure, cold, calculating rage. Because here's the thing about Mark Sullivan that Julia never bothered to learn in 3 years together. I'm only boring when I choose to be, when I'm comfortable, when I trust people, when I don't trust people, when I'm backed into a corner by liars and cheaters and people who think they're smarter than me. That's when things get interesting. My phone buzzes. Text from Paul. Dude, where did you go? Julia's crying. Everyone's asking questions. What the hell happened? I type back. Found out my fiancée's been screwing her ex for 8 months. Currently planning my response. Don't wait up. 3 dots appear immediately. Then, holy shit. What do you need? That's why Paul's my best friend. No questions about whether I'm sure. No suggestions that maybe it's a misunderstanding. Just immediate loyalty and an offer to help. Meet me at my place in an hour, I reply. Bring your laptop. We have work to do. I start the car and pull out of the restaurant parking lot, checking the rearview mirror. Through the windows, I can see Julia gesticulating wildly at our table, probably spinning some story about how I'm having a breakdown, how I'm jealous and paranoid, and unable to handle her friendship with Eric. Let her talk. Let them all think I'm the crazy one. They have no idea what's coming. Paul arrives at my house with 2 laptops, a bag of Chinese takeout, and the grim expression of a man preparing for war. He's been my best friend since college, and in all those years, he's never seen me like this, calm, focused, serious. Show me everything, he says, settling into my kitchen chair. I hand him Julia's phone and watch his face change as he scrolls through the messages. Paul's an IT security specialist. He knows digital evidence when he sees it. More importantly, he knows how to preserve it legally. Jesus, Mark. This is really bad. How long has this been going on? 8 months, minimum, maybe longer. I pull up my laptop and start typing. I need you to help me document everything. Screenshots, timestamps, metadata, all legal, all admissible if this goes to court. Court? You're thinking divorce? I'm thinking total destruction. Paul looks up from the phone, eyebrows raised. Okay, I know that tone. What's the plan? Here's what most people don't understand about revenge. It's not about getting even. It's about making sure the other person understands exactly how badly they miscalculated. Julia thinks I'm a pushover, a boring financial advisor who'll quietly accept his humiliation and slink away. Eric thinks he's won some kind of prize. They're both wrong. Tomorrow is Saturday, I say, opening a new document. Julia has her weekly brunch with the girls at Cafe Luna. Every week, same table, same crowd. Carmen, Lana, Patricia, and usually 3 or 4 other women from their social circle. The gossip brigade. Exactly. And here's the beautiful part. Julia texted Carmen an hour ago asking her to do damage control about tonight. She wants to spin the story, make me look like the bad guy. Paul grins. But you have receipts. 8 months' worth of receipts. Hotel bills, restaurant charges, even a jewelry receipt for a necklace I've never seen Julia wear. I turn my laptop screen toward him. Look at this. Eric bought her a $5,000 tennis bracelet last month. Guess where he got the money? Paul's face darkens as he reads. He took a loan from her boutique account, the account you've been funding. My money bought my fiancé's lover a gift to celebrate their affair. There's poetic justice in that, don't you think? We work through the night, organizing evidence, creating a timeline, preparing for what I'm already calling Operation Brunch Bomb. By 6 a.m., we have everything we need. A comprehensive dossier of Julia's betrayal, complete with financial records, photos, and a detailed timeline of her lies. But the evidence is just part 1. Part 2 requires a bit more creativity. I need you to create a digital presentation, I tell Paul, as we share coffee and leftover lo mein. Nothing illegal, nothing hacked. Just a simple slideshow using the photos and messages from Julia's phone. What kind of presentation? The kind that can be shared via airdrop to multiple devices simultaneously. Paul's grin turns wicked. Oh, that's diabolical. You're going to crash their brunch. I'm going to educate them. There's a difference. At 9 a.m., Julia finally calls. I let it go to voicemail. Then she calls again. And again. By the 5th call, I answer. Mark, thank God. Where are you? I've been worried sick. Her voice is perfect, concerned, loving, just the right amount of tremor to suggest she's been crying. If I didn't know better, I'd almost believe her. I'm at home, Julia. Where's your phone? A pause. My phone? I think I left it at the restaurant. Why? Just wondering. You seemed pretty upset when I left. Of course I was upset. You just walked out in the middle of dinner, in front of everyone. My mother was mortified. I'm sure she was. Listen, I think we need to talk. Yes, absolutely. Can you come to brunch this morning? I'm meeting the girls at Cafe Luna, but we could step outside and… Actually, I think I'll join you for brunch, if that's okay. Another pause, longer this time. Join us? But you hate those brunches. You always say they're just gossip sessions. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's time I participated in the conversation. Okay, that would be great, actually. Everyone's been asking about you. I bet they have. See you at 11. I hang up before she can respond and turn to Paul, who's been listening with obvious admiration. You magnificent bastard, he says. She has no idea. None of them do. That's what makes this so perfect. At 10:30, Paul and I drive separately to Cafe Luna. It's a trendy place in the arts district. All exposed brick and Edison bulbs, the kind of spot where wealthy women go to drink $30 mimosas and dissect their friends' personal lives. Julia's crew has claimed the same corner table for 2 years running. I arrive first and take a seat at the bar where I can watch their table. Paul positions himself across the restaurant with his laptop, looking like any other freelancer working on a Saturday morning. At exactly 11, they arrive. Julia, Carmen, Lana, Patricia, and 2 other women I recognize from various social events. They're all dressed for the occasion. Designer casual, perfect makeup, the uniform of women who have money and want everyone to know it. Julia spots me immediately and waves, her smile bright and fake. She says something to the group, and I watch their faces change as they realize I'm here. Surprise, curiosity, and from Lana, who I now know has been actively encouraging Julia's affair, barely concealed amusement. They think this is going to be entertaining. They have no idea how right they are. I wait until they've ordered, until they're settled and comfortable and deep in conversation. From my position at the bar, I can see Julia gesticulating as she tells her version of last night's events, the concerned fiancée dealing with her jealous, irrational partner, the victim of my unreasonable behavior. Carmen nods sympathetically. Lana makes exaggerated, shocked faces. Patricia dabs at her eyes with a napkin, playing the role of the concerned mother. It's a masterful performance. Too bad it's about to be interrupted. I text Paul, "Showtime." Then I stand up, straighten my shirt, and walk over to their table with the biggest smile I can manage. "Ladies," I say, pulling up an empty chair. "Mind if I join you? Julia and I have some news to share." The silence at the table is deafening. Julia's face cycles through confusion, panic, and forced cheer in the span of 3 seconds. "Mark! Honey, what a surprise! I thought you were going to call first." "I decided to surprise you instead." I settle into my chair and signal the waitress. "Mimosa, please. Make it a double." Lana recovers first, leaning forward with predatory interest. "So, what's this news you mentioned?" "Well," I say, pulling out my phone. "It turns out Julia left her phone at the restaurant last night. I've been reading the most fascinating messages." The color drains from Julia's face. Carmen chokes on her coffee. Even Patricia, who's usually unflappable, looks suddenly uncomfortable. "Mark," Julia says carefully, "maybe we should discuss this privately." "Oh no, I think your friends should hear this. After all, some of them have been so supportive of your situation." I make eye contact with Lana, whose smug expression is rapidly disappearing. "I don't understand," Patricia says, looking between us. "What situation?" "Mom," Julia starts, but I hold up my hand. "Please let me explain." I turn to address the whole table. "It seems my fiancée has been having an affair with her ex-boyfriend Eric for the past 8 months. They've been using hotel rooms, charging romantic dinners to the boutique account, and planning to humiliate me at our wedding." The words land like bombs. Patricia gasps. Carmen's face goes white. The two women I don't know well look like they want to disappear. But Lana tries to play it off. "Mark, that's a serious accusation. Are you sure you're not misinterpreting?" "Am I misinterpreting this?" I read directly from Julia's phone. "Can't wait to feel you inside me again tonight. Mark's working late. Perfect timing." Patricia makes a strangled noise. One of the other women actually gets up and leaves. "Or this conversation between Julia, Carmen, and you, Lana. Mark actually thinks you're going to marry him. This is better than reality TV." Carmen's mouth opens and closes like a fish. Lana's face turns red. "There's more," I continue, scrolling through the messages. "So much more. Financial records showing Eric's been living off loans from the boutique, loans funded by my investments, photos I won't describe in polite company, and my personal favorite, a detailed discussion of how boring old Mark deserves what he gets." Julia finally finds her voice. "Mark, please, you're making a scene." "I'm making a scene?" I laugh, and it's not a pleasant sound. "You've been screwing your ex-boyfriend for 8 months, stealing my money to fund your affair, and planning to humiliate me at our own wedding, and I'm making a scene?" The entire restaurant is staring now. Conversations have stopped. Even the staff has paused to watch the drama unfold. "Here's what's going to happen," I say, standing up. "The wedding is off, obviously. I've already called the venues, the caterers, the florist. Everything's canceled." "You can't just—" Julia starts. "I can, and I have. I've also frozen the boutique accounts pending a full financial audit. Turns out when someone steals from their business partner, that partner has legal recourse." Carmen goes pale. "Steals? Mark, that's not—" $47,000, I say. "That's how much Eric has borrowed from the boutique in the past 6 months. Money that came from my investments. Money that paid for hotel rooms, jewelry, and romantic getaways while I planned our wedding." I turn back to Julia, who's now crying. Real tears this time, not the crocodile tears from earlier. "You wanted Eric to always be in your life? Congratulations. You've got your wish. You can figure out how to pay me back together." I drop a 20 on the table and head for the door, but not before delivering my parting shot. "Oh, and Lana? Next time you want to gossip about someone's personal life, maybe make sure they don't have access to the group chat." The walk to my car feels like a victory lap. Behind me I can hear raised voices, crying, and what sounds like Patricia giving someone a piece of her mind. My phone is already buzzing with texts, but I ignore them. Phase 1 is complete, but I'm not done with Eric Dorsey. Not by a long shot. I drive to Eric's apartment building, a converted warehouse in the trendy part of downtown. His car, a pristine 1967 Mustang that he treats like a child, is parked in his assigned spot in the underground garage. Eric's always been obsessed with that car. He's told anyone who'll listen about the 3 years he spent restoring it, the custom paint job, the rebuilt engine. It's his pride and joy, his baby, his most prized possession, which makes what I'm about to do feel like justice. I park nearby and pop my trunk, pulling out the supplies I bought earlier, a bag of glitter, 3 cans of tuna, a bottle of fish sauce, and a tube of industrial-strength adhesive. Nothing illegal, nothing that will cause permanent damage. Just a little creative redecorating. The car is unlocked. Typical Eric. Too arrogant to worry about security in his fancy building. I open all 4 doors and get to work. First, the glitter. I dump the entire bag across the seats, dashboard, and floor mats. Pink glitter, because Eric's the type of guy who thinks pink is an insult to his masculinity. Next, the tuna. I open all 3 cans and strategically place them under the seats and in the air vents. The fish sauce goes on the upholstery for good measure. Finally, the adhesive. I squeeze it around the door handles, steering wheel, and gear shift. Not enough to cause damage, but enough to make everything sticky and unpleasant. When I'm finished, I step back to admire my work. The car looks like a craft store exploded inside it, and the smell is already becoming noticeable. I leave a note on the windshield. From the ex-husband who doesn't care anymore, enjoy your prize. As I'm walking back to my car, my phone rings. Eric's name flashes on the screen. "You son of a jerk," he says without preamble. "What did you do to my car?" "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Don't play games with me, Mark. I know it was you." "Prove it," I say. "And while you're at it, maybe you can explain to the police how you've been stealing from my business investments to fund your affair." A long pause. This isn't over. "You're right," I agree. "It's not." I hang up and drive home, where Paul is waiting with beer and a huge grin. "How'd it go?" he asks. "Phase 1 and 2 complete, but I'm just getting started." "What's Phase 3? I crack open a beer and smile. Phase 3 is where things get really interesting. By Monday morning, the story has spread through our social circle like wildfire. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing with calls and texts from friends, acquaintances, and people I barely know, all wanting to hear the details firsthand. Some are supportive, some are shocked. A few seem disappointed that they missed the drama at brunch. But the most interesting calls are from Julia's former friends, women who were part of her inner circle until they realized they'd been accessories to her deception. "Mark, I had no idea," says Rebecca, one of Julia's boutique customers. "If I had known what was really going on, I never would have covered for her when you called looking for her that night in March." "You covered for her?" "She said she was at a business dinner with suppliers. I thought I was helping. I feel terrible." March. That was 8 months ago, right when the affair started according to the text messages. Julia had told me she was having dinner with Rebecca to discuss a potential partnership. Instead, she was with Eric. "Rebecca, did she ask you to lie for her other times?" A pause. "A few times. She said you were being controlling, checking up on her constantly. She made it sound like you were the problem." The picture becomes clearer with each call. Julia hasn't just been cheating, she's been systematically manipulating our entire social network, turning friends into unwitting accomplices and painting me as a jealous, controlling partner. But her strategy has backfired spectacularly. Now that the truth is out, people are remembering all the times Julia asked them to cover for her, all the suspicious requests and convenient stories. They're realizing they've been played, and they're not happy about it. By Tuesday, Julia's boutique is in crisis. 3 major customers have canceled orders. Her business partner, Carmen, is fielding angry calls from investors. And according to Paul's sources, he knows everyone in the local business community. Several vendors are demanding immediate payment on outstanding invoices. "She's hemorrhaging money," Paul reports over lunch. The boutique was already operating on thin margins, and now with the frozen accounts and the customer exodus, she's in real trouble. "Good," I say, and I mean it. "What about Eric?" "Even better news there. Remember that charity gala he's been planning for his marketing firm?" I nod. Eric's been bragging about landing the Riverside Children's Hospital fundraiser for months. It's a high-profile event with the city's elite, the kind of contract that can make or break a small marketing company. The hospital board got wind of the scandal. Apparently, Patricia knows several board members from her volunteer work. They're reconsidering their contract. "Patricia's helping?" "Oh yeah, hell hath no fury like a mother-in-law scorned. She's been calling everyone she knows, making sure they understand exactly what her daughter and Eric did to you." This is an unexpected development. Patricia has never been my biggest fan. She always thought Julia could do better than a boring financial advisor. But apparently, her sense of propriety outweighs her disappointment in her daughter's choice of partners. "There's more," Paul continues. "Eric's been trying to do damage control, reaching out to mutual friends, claiming you're exaggerating the situation. Let me guess, it's not working. Not even close, especially after what happened at Murphy's bar last night. I raise an eyebrow. What happened at Murphy's bar? Paul grins. Eric got drunk and decided to confront Tom Bradley about taking sides in the breakup. Tom reminded him that adultery isn't really a both sides situation, and Eric took a swing at him. Eric punched Tom? Eric tried to punch Tom. Tom's a former college wrestler. Eric ended up on the floor with a red nose and a bruised ego. The whole thing was caught on the bar's security cameras. I can't help but laugh. Tom Bradley is one of the most mild-mannered guys I know, a CPA who coaches Little League on weekends. If Eric managed to piss him off enough to fight, he's really lost the plot. The video's already making the rounds, Paul adds. Eric's not coming off well in public opinion. What about Julia? Desperate. She's been calling everyone, trying to arrange a meeting with you. She wants to work things out. Not happening. I figured, but she's getting creative. She tried to use Ben as a go-between. My blood runs cold. Ben is my 14-year-old son from my first marriage, a good kid who splits his time between my house and his mother's in the suburbs. Julia has always been decent to him, but using him to manipulate me crosses a line I didn't even know existed. What do you mean, she tried to use Ben? She showed up at his school yesterday, claiming she needed to talk to him about family business. The school called you, but you were in meetings all day. I checked my phone, and sure enough, there are 3 missed calls from Ben's school and 2 from my ex-wife, Lisa. I need to call Lisa, I say, standing up. Mark, wait, there's something else. The tone in Paul's voice stops me cold. What? Eric's been asking around about you. Specifically, he's been trying to find out about your finances, your business relationships, anything he might be able to use against you. Use against me how? I'm not sure yet. But he's been talking to some shady people, guys who specialize in, let's call it, creative problem solving. The implication hits me like a punch to the gut. You think he's planning something? I think Eric's a desperate man who's lost his meal ticket and his reputation. Desperate men do stupid things. I call Lisa as soon as I get back to my office. She answers on the first ring. Mark, thank God, we need to talk about what happened at Ben's school. Tell me everything. Some woman showed up claiming to be your fiancée, saying there was a family emergency and she needed to speak with Ben immediately. The school called me when they couldn't reach you. Did they let her talk to him? No, thank God. The principal knows our custody arrangement, and Julia isn't on the approved list. But Ben was upset. He wants to know what's going on. I close my eyes. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid, dragging Ben into the mess Julia created. I'll pick him up after school and explain everything. Mark, what exactly is going on? Ben mentioned something about a canceled wedding. I give Lisa the abbreviated version, focusing on the facts and leaving out the more sordid details. She listens without interrupting, occasionally making disgusted noises. Jesus, Mark, I'm sorry. I know you really cared about her. Yeah, well, live and learn. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes to protect Ben and make sure Julia and Eric understand that using my son as a pawn is unacceptable. Be careful, okay? This woman sounds unstable. After I hang up, I sit in my office staring out the window, trying to process everything. The situation is escalating beyond what I originally planned. What started as a calculated campaign of social and financial consequences has become something more personal, more dangerous. Julia involving Ben changes everything. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about protecting my family. I call Paul back. I need you to do some digging on Eric, I say. Financial records, business dealings, anything that might explain why he's getting desperate enough to involve my son. Already on it. Give me 24 hours. And Paul, I think it's time we move to Phase 4. What's Phase 4? Total warfare. The call comes at 2 a.m. on Thursday night. I'm jolted awake by my phone buzzing on the nightstand, Eric's name flashing on the screen. We need to talk, he says without preamble. His voice is slurred, angry. It's 2 a.m, Eric. Whatever you have to say can wait. No, it can't. You've destroyed everything, you bastard. My business, my reputation, my relationship with Julia, everything. I sit up in bed, instantly alert. There's something in his voice, a dangerous edge that wasn't there before. You destroyed those things yourself when you decided to screw my fiancée. She was never really yours, he spits. She told me from the beginning that you were just a placeholder, someone stable to pay the bills, while she figured out what she really wanted. The words sting, even though I know he's trying to hurt me. If that's true, then you're welcome to her, along with her debts. That's the problem, Mark. Thanks to your little stunt with the frozen accounts, we can't access any of the money. Julia's boutique is failing. I lost the hospital contract, and my business is circling the drain. You've backed us into a corner. Good. Maybe you should have thought about consequences before you started your affair. Here's the thing about corners, Eric says, his voice dropping to a whisper. When you back a man into one, sometimes he comes out fighting. The line goes silent. I immediately call Paul, who answers on the second ring despite the hour. Eric just called me. He's drunk, angry, and making threats. What kind of threats? The vague kind that could mean anything. Can you come over? On my way. While I wait for Paul, I do a quick security check of the house. All doors locked, alarm system armed, exterior lights on. It's probably overkill, but Eric's call has left me unsettled. Paul arrives 15 minutes later with his laptop bag and a thermos of coffee. Okay, I've got good news and bad news, he says, settling into my kitchen. Which do you want first? Bad news. Eric's business is completely bankrupt. He owes money to some very unpleasant people, the kind who don't accept the check is in the mail as an answer. How unpleasant? The kind who break legs first and ask questions later. He borrowed money from a loan shark to keep his company afloat, probably thinking the hospital contract would save him. When that fell through, he became desperate. Exactly. And desperate Eric is apparently willing to consider options that sober Eric might have avoided. I pour myself coffee with hands that are steadier than I feel. What's the good news? The good news is that I know exactly who he borrowed money from, and I have a contact who can help us resolve this situation permanently. What kind of contact? Paul grins. The kind who doesn't like it when amateur hour idiots make threats against his clients' business partners. I stare at him. Paul, please tell me you're not talking about... Relax. I'm talking about Detective Martinez from the fraud division. Remember him from that embezzlement case I consulted on last year? He's very interested in Eric's financial situation, especially the part where he's been using stolen money to pay off gambling debts. Eric has gambling debts? Oh yeah. Turns out your boy Eric has been living a double life. Successful marketing executive by day, degenerate gambler by night. The affair with Julia wasn't just about love, it was about access to her business accounts. The pieces fall into place. Eric's sudden reappearance in Julia's life 18 months ago. His immediate integration into our social circle. His interest in Julia's boutique and her financial situation. He's been planning this from the beginning, I realize. Looks like it. Julia wasn't just cheating on you. She was being used by a professional con man. Does she know? I doubt it. Eric's good at what he does. He probably made her feel like she was the love of his life while he systematically drained her accounts. My phone buzzes. Text message from an unknown number. Check your front door. Paul and I look at each other. He nods toward the security monitor I had installed last year. A precaution that seemed paranoid at the time, but feels prescient now. The screen shows my front porch, empty, except for a manila envelope propped against the door. Stay here, I tell Paul, but he's already shaking his head. We go together, or we call the police right now. We compromise. Paul stays inside with his finger on the 911 speed dial while I quickly grab the envelope and retreat. Inside are photos, dozens of them. Pictures of me leaving my house, arriving at work, having lunch with Paul, pictures of Ben walking to school, playing in his mother's backyard, getting into Lisa's car. There's a note. You took everything from me. Now I'm going to take everything from you. Back off, or your son pays the price. Paul reads over my shoulder and immediately starts dialing. That's it. We're calling Martinez right now. Wait. I grab his arm. If we call the police, Eric goes underground. He's desperate and stupid, but he's not completely incompetent. He'll find another way to get to Ben. So, what do you want to do? I look at the photos again, studying them carefully. Most are taken from a distance with a telephoto lens, but a few show details that suggest Eric has been watching us for days, maybe weeks. I want to end this. Tonight. Permanently. How? By giving Eric exactly what he wants, a face-to-face confrontation where he thinks he has the upper hand. Paul stares at me like I've lost my mind. That's the worst idea you've ever had. Maybe, but it's also the only way to protect Ben. Eric's not going to stop escalating until someone stops him. I pull out my phone and dial Eric's number. He answers immediately, as if he's been waiting. Did you get my message? He asks. I got it. You want to meet? Fine. My house. 1 hour. Just you. No cops, no Paul, no backup. Just me, I agree. But Eric? If you've hurt my son, if you've even thought about hurting my son, I will destroy you in ways that will make everything I've done so far look like a gentle suggestion. 1 hour, he says, and hangs up. Paul is staring at me in horror. Please tell me you have a plan. I have a plan. A good plan? A plan that ends with Eric Dorsey never bothering my family again. And if it goes wrong? I look at the photos of Ben scattered across my kitchen table. Then it goes wrong, but I'm not letting that bastard use my son as leverage. Paul nods slowly. What do you need me to do? Call Martinez. Tell him to be ready to move in 1 hour and 15 minutes, whether he hears from us or not. And Paul? Yeah? If something happens to me, make sure Ben knows I love him. Nothing's going to happen to you, Paul says firmly, because I'm not letting you do this alone. Paul, no arguments. We've been friends for 20 years. You think I'm going to let you face down a desperate con man by yourself? I want to argue, but the truth is, I'm scared. Not of Eric. I'm bigger, stronger, and significantly less drunk than he sounded on the phone. But I'm scared of what this situation has turned me into, of how far I'm willing to go to protect my family. Okay, I say finally. But we do this smart. No heroics, no unnecessary risks. We get Eric to confess, we get him to back down, and we let the police handle the rest. Agreed. And if things go sideways, they won't. At exactly 3 a.m., headlights sweep across my front windows. Eric's car, not the Mustang, which is presumably still reeking of fish sauce, pulls into my driveway. Paul positions himself in the living room with a clear view of the front door and the security monitors. I take a deep breath and open the door before Eric can knock. He looks terrible. Unshaven, bloodshot eyes, clothes wrinkled like he's been sleeping in them. The smell of alcohol wafts off him in waves. Mark, he says, swaying slightly. Eric, come in. He stumbles past me into the foyer, looking around suspiciously. Where's your boyfriend? Paul's not here. It's just us. Eric nods, satisfied, then turns to face me with an expression of pure hatred. You ruined my life. No, Eric. You ruined your own life when you decided to steal from me and threaten my son. Your son? He laughs bitterly. You want to talk about your son? Let me tell you about your son. He's a smart kid, walks the same route to school every day, stops at the same coffee shop every morning. Very predictable. The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. If you've touched him, I haven't touched him. Yet. But that could change very quickly if you don't start cooperating. What do you want? I want my life back. I want you to unfreeze the boutique accounts, drop any legal action, and publicly apologize for the misunderstanding that led to our breakup. In exchange for? In exchange for your son's continued safety. That's when I know Eric has made his final mistake. Threatening me was one thing. Threatening Ben is another entirely. You know what, Eric? You're absolutely right. I have been unreasonable. Let me get my phone and start making some calls. I turn toward the kitchen, and Eric follows, just as I knew he would. He's drunk, angry, and convinced he's finally gained the upper hand. He has no idea that Paul has been recording every word through the security system, or that Detective Martinez is parked 2 blocks away, waiting for our signal. That's more like it, Eric says as we enter the kitchen. You should have done this weeks ago instead of... He stops mid-sentence as he notices Paul sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open. You said he wasn't here. I lied, I say simply. Paul, did you get all that? Paul turns his laptop screen toward Eric, showing the recording interface. Every word, including the parts about stalking a minor and making terroristic threats. Eric's face goes white, then red, then white again. You set me up. You set yourself up, I correct. I just gave you enough rope to hang yourself with. Eric reaches into his jacket, and for a moment I think he might actually have a weapon. Instead, he pulls out his phone. It doesn't matter, he says, fingers flying over the screen. I've got insurance. 1 text message and your son. Paul's laptop chimes with an incoming message. Eric's text, intercepted and rerouted through Paul's security software, appears on the screen. Do it now. Looking for this? Paul asks, holding up a second phone, Eric's backup device, lifted from his car while he was stumbling up my front walk. Sorry, but your associate isn't going to be bothering anyone tonight. Eric stares at the phone in Paul's hand, his face cycling through confusion, rage, and finally, defeat. You don't understand, he says desperately. The people I owe money to, they're not going to just forget about this. They'll come after me, after Julia, after anyone connected to this mess. That sounds like a problem you should have considered before you started threatening children, I say. Red and blue lights flash through the kitchen windows as Detective Martinez's unmarked car pulls into the driveway. Eric Dorsey, I say, watching as his shoulders slump in defeat. You're under arrest. Well, you will be in about 30 seconds. The front door opens, and Martinez enters with 2 uniformed officers. Eric doesn't resist as they cuff him and read him his rights. He just stands there, looking smaller and more pathetic with each passing moment. We've got enough to hold him on stalking, harassment, and terroristic threats, Martinez tells me as they lead Eric away. The financial crimes will take longer to sort out, but he's not going anywhere for a while. After the police leave, Paul and I sit in my kitchen, drinking coffee, and watching the sun rise through the windows. So what happens to Julia? Paul asks. That's up to her. If she cooperates with the investigation, she might avoid criminal charges. If not, I shrug. She made her choices. Any regrets? I think about it for a moment. 3 weeks ago, I thought I was going to marry Julia, start a new life, maybe even have more kids. Now she's facing bankruptcy and potential criminal charges, her ex-boyfriend is in jail, and I'm single again at 40. No, I say finally. No regrets. My phone buzzes with a text from Lisa. Ben's safe. Saw the news about Eric's arrest. Call when you can. I show the message to Paul, who grins. So what's next for Mark Sullivan? Next, I'm going to take my son fishing. Then I'm going to rebuild my business without any lying, cheating partners. And someday, when I'm ready, I'm going to find someone who actually deserves my trust. Sounds like a plan. It is. And Paul? Yeah? Thanks for having my back. Always, brother. Always. 2 months later, I run into Julia at the grocery store. She looks tired, older somehow, but not broken. We nod politely and go our separate ways. I hear through mutual friends that she's working as a manager at a department store, that she's paying back her debt slowly but steadily, that she's seeing a therapist and trying to rebuild her life. Good for her. Everyone deserves a second chance, even people who make catastrophically bad decisions about love and money. As for Eric, he's serving 18 months in minimum security for stalking and harassment. The financial crimes added another 2 years. He'll be out eventually, but his days of conning lonely women and threatening children are over. Ben asks about Julia sometimes, usually when we're fishing or working in the garage together. I tell him the truth, that sometimes adults make bad choices that hurt the people they're supposed to love, and that the best thing you can do is learn from their mistakes. Are you going to get married again? He asked last weekend. Maybe someday, I told him, when I find someone who thinks being boring is actually a good thing. He laughed at that, and I realized something important. I'm not the same man who walked out of Romano's Italian restaurant 3 months ago. I'm stronger, smarter, and significantly less trusting. But I'm also happier. Because sometimes, the best thing that can happen to you is discovering that the life you thought you wanted was built on lies. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well.